This is going to be the pilot episode of the Unclutch podcast. My name is Chris.
Hi, my name is Isaiah, 28 years old, residing out of Houston, Texas. I've known Chris since when? 2010, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so. It's been 14 years.
Yeah. Chris is a year older than me. We met in band. I think when I met you, you were playing trombone or saxophone or drumline, one of those. But
I was moving around a lot in the band, but it was never trombone, unfortunately. So it was the drum line. I mean, maybe on a drum line.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We kind of stayed in touch after graduating, and then I guess he saw me post online that we were hooping, and like, hey, invite me. And I'm pretty much like, hey, anybody wants to play, like, let's play. I'm very big on just having like a small knit community of people that are like-minded, like to enjoy the game. They treat everybody fair, and they actually show up when they say they will. So you came through, and then ever since then, you've been a integral member, a founding member of Unclutch, our Discord, and you come through as much as you can. I know you used to travel for work a lot, so you would miss, but whenever you were in town, you'd come through. So we appreciate that. But yeah.
Oh yeah, there was definitely some times where I would be out of town, still drive in town to make the hoop session, and then had to go back the later that night to work the next day. But yeah, definitely. So we stayed in touch through our love of basketball, and that's kind of what led to the podcast. Because after our hoop sessions, we normally would stay an hour, sometimes longer, just talking about the state of sports, state of basketball. We both share very strong opinions. A lot of times contrasting on who the better players are in the league. And so that's kind of just what we're doing here today.
Yeah. Like Chris said, we always used to stay after, just with the guys, just having a good talk about all kind of sports, different things about life. There were just good, genuine conversations. And so that kind of branched into, hey, let's start a podcast, as a lot of people say and do these days. But we actually, trying to get it done. We're out here trying to do it. And, it doesn't have to be anything big. It's just getting together and talking sports once or twice a week and just seeing where it goes from there. So, yeah.
All right. So I guess the first thing is first, we're going to talk about, we both share our favorite basketball team, both huge fans of the Rockets. I've been following the Rockets probably since, I want to say, '08. Some people started off, was born into being Rockets fans. I was a football fan first, and then basketball came around. I was following the Louis Scola days, and ever since then, I've been a diehard fan.
I was always a fan. I wouldn't say diehard by any means. I don't get upset if we lose too much. I started enjoying the game more towards the end of high school. We'd go with some friends, and definitely after high school, the beginning of the Harden era. And as I got a better job, I was able to go to more games, and that was probably the biggest time in my life that I was a bigger Rockets fan than I was prior. It was very enjoyable just going with different people, different groups, and I think that's why I liked it the most, is just getting together with people. So with our mutual love for the games and just the atmosphere of Toyota Center, and recently going to a game Monday with a couple of our members from the Discord, Diego, Manuel. It's just a fun little atmosphere, and it's relatively cheap now that we're not, projected to be that great. Probably a play-in team this year, hopefully. But I think the tickets were around $35, and it came with a free drink and a blanket or a towel. So it's a pretty good little incentive to get people to go to the games, and it was an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, gotta love that free drink. Gotta love the free drink. Full disclaimer, neither one of us are basketball experts.
Exactly.
Nothing that we are saying, except for literal statistics, could be taken as fact. We're mostly just here kind of putting our side out there and, seeing what the mass community, if they agree with either me or Isaiah, I mean, I know they're gonna agree with me, but I would like to give Isaiah a chance to defend some of the things that we're gonna be talking about. So
Yeah. Full disclaimer: if anybody ever wants to dox me or look it up, I was cut from my middle school basketball team in 7th grade. It was the B team. I believe that I would have made the team except one of my friends who was like 6 feet tall at the time of being like 12, 13 years old. He was really uncoordinated, really bad, but he was 6 feet tall, so he made the B team. That's my villain origin story, and I'll stick to it. I love the game of basketball. It was never something I played growing up. I played varsity baseball, varsity tennis in high school. I played soccer as a kid, pickleball now as a middle-aged man. But I always enjoyed it, and I always was very passionate. I just love competing. I love what sports can do for young people, men and women. I just love the camaraderie of it all. Winning and losing is a part of the game. It's a part of life. So just growing up with those core values and just being a part of a team as an only child is very important to me growing up. So everybody that was on my team felt like a brother to me. Especially felt that way in high school with playing high school sports, and even in band with all the people around, similar age group, similar interests. It was just very nice to have. When I went home, nobody was there. So I know some people have brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles that live with them. It was just me, my mom, my dad. So it was very cool to have that kind of atmosphere growing up.
yeah, for me, it was almost the opposite. I had a family of five, not including mom and dad. So I had a bigger family, and but the camaraderie of the game and band, Isaiah and our Unclutch group as a whole was kind of a second family, if you will. It just gave us a different dynamic because me and my family are about, I would say, 6 or 7 years apart per person. So the age gap there made it seem like I was alone more often than not. But through sports, because most of my family are sports fans, through sports is how I got added at an early age. Then we met up with other like I said, like-minded sports fans, and that's the rest is really pretty much history. Or ongoing as either one. So that's kind of the story. That's that's where we came from, and where we going. We'll just have to see. So Isaiah, favorite player.
My favorite player of all time is LeBron James. Even before I was just an avid watcher of the NBA, I know it's hard these days with all the different streaming services and apps that you have to use to watch the games if you're not using like a stream or something like that. I would always see LeBron's highlights, of course. I would always see talk shows discussing whether he's better than Jordan, things like that, which I'm sure we'll get into many, many times during this podcast, or maybe not today, but in podcasts in general in the future. But I always just loved seeing his highlights. I just thought he could do it all. I think he can pass. I think he's a great shooter. When he was younger, he was a better defender than he is today. Granted, he's 40 years old, or almost 40. But he's been my favorite player for as long as I can remember. So, what about you?
A little bit different of a pick. My favorite player of all time is Danny Granger. When I say that, everybody's like, really? Danny? Nah. When I first started watching sports, like I said, back in '08, Danny Granger was, he was a nobody he was on Indiana. He was kind of a nobody in Indiana, and then every year he got better, and every year Indiana started to make noise. He would make more noise. Then Danny Granger had got injured, and then he had comeback player. That's when I really was like, man, I gotta watch Danny Granger, because to me he was everything that you would want from a wing, like not named LeBron James, of course. He was able to score on all three levels. He was a passer, and he was one of the highest defenders on that team. They went and got Paul George, and as much as I love LeBron James now, I was 100% against him in that Heat Pacers playoff game, both years. They ended up winning The Heat ended up winning, and of course, the big three and whoop de whoop in the third. But Danny Granger was my guy from since then.
Only history I have with Danny Granger is just using him on 2K. My team 2K, he was a great player, relatively cheap, big wing, could defend, could shoot the three, had a nice bounce. So that was my introduction to Danny Granger. I don't believe I've ever watched him play a game. Definitely not in person. I might have seen him a couple times, but he never really stood out to me. But definitely an interesting choice. And just to clarify, this is your favorite player, not like any type of GOAT by any means, right?
Not any type of GOAT at all. He is my favorite player, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
There have been GOATs. There have been GOATs, and there have been other LeBron, Kobe fans, Jordan fans that'll sit here and like, out of every player, why Danny Granger? I don't know. It's just that was just the guy. And there have been other players that have came and gone since then. Like I was a big fan of Monta Ellis, and as most recently and ongoing right now, my number 3 on my list is James Harden, since he is still playing. So that's the one that you're going to hear me defend a lot. A lot.
I think some of those young guys, when they do the interview, especially going into the season, people were saying, "Oh, my favorite player is like Paul George," or the way the reporters might phrase the questions, like, "Who's the GOAT?" or "Who's your favorite player?" Those are two very different things. I think it was maybe Brandon Miller who said his favorite player, or the GOAT was Paul George, which is crazy to say. Paul George is a great player. I just don't think he has a clutch gene by any means, especially he missed that game winner earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
He probably should have let Maxey take that. But, that's
Plus,
just like a
plus
Paul
he was
George
coming back
thing.
from injury.
Yeah, and I think he probably forced it, and that Gatorade commercial just haunts him. I called game, and this guy is not like a gamer. He doesn't finish the game. He's not that kind of guy, and that's why he's not the best player on the team. He hasn't been the best player on his team since those Indiana Pacer days, and it's kind of sad because he has all the talent and all the skills in the world to be the best player on the team, especially, maybe even a championship team before the Olympic injury, but it just didn't work out that way, and he doesn't have that kind of clutch gene or that drive to just be the best. But I do like him as a player, even though I just ragged on him for about a minute or so. But I do like his game. I think he's very, very smooth. You see those edits with like the smooth jazz in the background.
Mm-hmm.
His handle is very tight, especially for how tall and how big he is, how athletic he is. Even post-injury, he's still getting up and down the court fairly well. His defense, when he wants to, is pretty good. And he still has a lot of balance considering, he snapped his leg. So definitely a story. I'm glad he's still playing. I'm glad he's still hooping. I'm glad we're able to watch him play. The 76ers season has been anything but ideal so far, with Embiid and Paul George being out in the beginning, Maxey kind of stepping up. Now Embiid is suspended for 3 games when he comes off an injury because he pushed a reporter. And if you've read what the reporter said, I would have pushed him too.
Yeah.
He was talking about Embiid's dead brother, which is unacceptable. You should never bring anything personal into your articles or into your stories. All the things that we're going to say on this podcast, hopefully, going forward, are about basketball. For the most part. I'm not going to speak on somebody's family. Granted, I doubt they ever hear this. But if they do, I'm not speaking about your family, your character. I don't know. These are assumptions that we can see from your media, what you say to the media, what you don't say, how you present yourself on the court and outside the court, I guess. But we're not going to speak on people's family. I think that reporter crossed the line, and he's lucky he just got pushed because Embiid's a 7-foot-something human being, probably touching 300 pounds.
Oh, yeah, pretty close.
So
if not
he
hit.
could just handle him with ease. So that reporter got off very, very lucky. So.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Like you got to keep it professional, especially when you're actually looking the dude in the face. Like this podcast is as opinionated as it's going to be at times. We're never going to go after someone's character. We're never going to go after people's personal life. Anything outside of the anything outside of those hard top or was it wood top lines. And that's just kind of how reporting or podcasting or anything like that should be. With that being said, you actually went to a game and you went with a couple of the guys. How did that go?
It was great. I got there. I think the tip-off time was 7:45. The line was extremely long. Every time I go to Toyota Center, they're always doing like a new entrance thing. So you go through the metal detectors before, or you go to them at the door. Then you show your tickets, and we had the vouchers for the free drink and the towel or whatever it was. That was the only part that I didn't like. They weren't very organized with it, I guess. So I got my drink. I went upstairs. We were sitting in the the higher seats in the 400s. So you got to take the escalator or elevator upstairs. So I went up, got my drink, and I saw Manuel and his brother was there. So I asked him, "Hey, where do you get the towel?" And I had to go back downstairs. But the escalator was only going up. So I had to take the elevator down, and it wasn't working. There's multiple different elevators, and I had to wait over 5 minutes to go back down. And then I walked the entirety of Toyota Center on the bottom floor, and it was like tucked in the corner where to get the towel and stuff like that. And I had to ask a lady, "Hey, where do you get this?" And that's on me. So I sat down maybe like 5 or 6 minutes in the second left, which I don't like to do. If you know me, I like to be on time. I like to be early. I definitely am one of those people that I will just sit down. Even if I have to go to the restroom, I'll just sit down. I don't want to get up. I don't want to bother anybody. But once I sat down, enjoyed the second half of the game. It's a great game. Got to see this new New York Knicks team with the addition of Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. It was a good game. It's a great game. We looked good as a team. I think we're still finding our identity. We're still kind of messing with the roster and seeing how things are going there, but it's promising. And I think if we can make it to the play-in and hopefully get in the tournament, get in the playoffs, that'll be great. That's my expectation for this year. Just improve, get those young guys some playing time. I like seeing Reed Shepherd out there. He looks a little timid, but his handle looks pretty good, and I know he can shoot it, so I want him to be more aggressive. But he's a rookie, so I know it's going to take a little bit of time. So overall, great game, though, for around maybe $50 in parking included. I think I paid $8. Walked about 2 blocks. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
So, great overall experience.
Cool. The outcome. I didn't see the Knicks game. The outcome. Who won?
Oh, we won. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We won.
So that puts us. I believe the standings right now is we're 5-3. I did watch us play the Mavericks, which was one game that I made sure I took time to pay attention to because of the implications. The Mavericks were in the finals last year. The Mavericks, I feel like, only gotten stronger with the addition of Klay Thompson. That was somebody that I wanted us to get when we had James Harden in them. That was the guy when you think of 3 and D. So I was like, man, having James Harden and Klay Thompson running that pick and roll with Capella and hitting Klay in the corner is almost unguardable, and that's kind of how I felt. So to see how Klay Thompson is going to work with Kyrie and Luka is going to be something to pay attention to. So I watched that game, and Jalen Green went crazy that game. Jalen Green went crazy. It just gave me a lot of hope for the year. As far as we're actually, the next step for us is playoffs. Like, we barely missed it last year. We barely missed it. And so that next step is playoffs, and we're well on the way, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've watched a couple Mavericks games, nothing from start to finish, but I do like what I'm seeing from Klay. I think he's beaten the washed allegations for sure. I think he needed a new change of scenery. I think there's less expectation on him in Dallas. He's not like a core guy. He's probably the third guy after Kyrie, Luka, whatever. But I do like what I'm seeing, especially that first game. He just let it fly, felt loose. He's playing free, looks happy out there, and that's what you like to see from a guy in his last couple of years. He has lost a step defensively for sure, but with the injuries he's gotten over the last couple of years, it's to be understood that he would slow down a little bit on the defensive side. But he's still a great player. I think he's a great locker room guy. I just think he's a great OG, as you might say, to have around, especially for younger guys. There's so much knowledge and wisdom he can bestow on younger dudes that you really can't get anywhere else. And I think they got a bargain deal for him too. So it's very important, I think, to have those kind of veterans around your team and just to keep the morale up. And he's a guy that's been there. He's a multiple time champion. You know, he's been to big games. He's played big. You know, was it Game 6 Clay?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's dropped 60 points. This guy, he's done almost everything you can do in the NBA. I just have a lot of respect for Klay Thompson, you know, especially him bouncing back after last year and the year before. Probably not playing the best, probably not having as much fun as he had prior years, but
2 years
still
of
enjoying.
injury, huh?
Years of injury, coming back, just a lot of, I think he had a lot of weight on him with the Warriors team, a lot of ups and downs with the Draymond, with the Jordan Poole incident, things like just press that you don't want to have around your locker room, just dealing with things that aren't basketball and not winning basketball. You know, when he was used to having a good team and kind of being drama free. You know, when their dynasty days, besides the Kevin Durant thing that brought some drama, them losing the 3-1 lead to LeBron and Cleveland, Kyrie. After that, it was a little bit of drama here and there. Getting KD, winning back-to-back, them having the injury, him getting hurt in those finals where KD also got hurt as well, and then dealing with injuries coming back. I guess it's been a rough couple of years in general, not just on the basketball court, off the floor too, but just getting away from that, stepping away from that kind of drama. There's drama wherever you go, but sometimes a change of scenery is what's best. So I think it's working out good for them and the Warriors too. The Warriors look pretty good with Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, Steph's gonna Steph, Draymond's still looking good. They got the young guys, Kuminga, Moses Moody. They've got a good squad, and I think they just beat the Celtics either last night or the night prior.
They did. And the Celtics have been looking unstoppable.
That was like their first loss, I believe, and OKC lost yesterday too to the Nuggets. Russell Westbrook played a really good game. I think he had like 23, 6 and 6, which is, you know, that's like a revenge game. OKC, whatever. But yeah, this is going to be a great NBA season. Great storylines. I just wish everybody would stay healthy. I know Lonzo's going to be out for a bit with this wrist injury. That's terrible news for Lonzo.
Can't catch a break.
Terrible news for the Bulls. Terrible news for NBA fans in general. I don't think anybody wants to see anybody out. We all want to see these teams at their best with all their guys, just 100% healthy. But unfortunately, he's suffering from that wrist injury, and hopefully he doesn't need surgery, and hopefully he can bounce back in a couple weeks. But we're hoping for a speedy recovery there. So
yeah, and speaking on the Warriors and what they've done now. The biggest thing that for me is like they chose Draymond over Klay. Like, does that actually make sense to you? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. Draymond over Klay. Draymond has been loud, has been vocal. He's been very emotional. He's been he's kind of like a wild card. What do they call it? A wild gun over there and like it might be an exaggeration, but like 90% of the problems that they have been in the media has been because of an outburst of Draymond.
Yeah, I would say maybe not choosing Draymond over him. I think he got paid earlier. I just think with the new CBA or the new what is it? Just the way the contracts are structured these days, they probably could have paid him, but they would have had to pay more in the luxury tax. And with going over the luxury tax gives you a lot of penalties. We'd have to look that up for sure. I don't want to say anything that's not true, but there's just a lot of penalties you have. You're not able to sign guys here and there. You're not able to make these trades later on in the year like a lot of teams do, especially getting guys off of the waiver wire, things like that. I just think it was bad timing, I guess, and Klay not looking good towards those last years. I don't think they wanted to pay him the money that they might have promised him before, and that's why their old GM, Bob Meyer, stepped down. And that's why now it's is it Mike Dunleavy? I believe it's Mike Dunleavy who's their
The
GM.
ex basketball player.
Yeah, I believe he's their GM right now. We'll probably look it up, but I think that's why Bob Myers stepped down because he couldn't give these guys what they asked for or what they might have talked about before. When things are good, everybody's making promises. Yeah, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing that for you. But when the rubber meets the road and it's actually time to pay up, things change. He's not the same player he was before, and that's evident.
But I mean, when is the last time Draymond has been the player that they've been expecting? For them, I the thing about it is because you still have Jonathan Kuminga. Like, of course, if Draymond Green leaves, that's going to be a blow. Yeah, understood. But you have Kuminga is still there. You would still have Clay. You still have Steph. You have the majority of the pieces. I know that Draymond was the glue that kept them together during those championship runs, but he's not. He Draymond's highs are nowhere near Clay's potential highs. Or let's say Draymond's potential highs is nowhere near Clay's potential highs.
I think that what Draymond offers and brings isn't just box score numbers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't drop, let's say he has 2 or 3 points, 3 or 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. It's a great game.
Right.
It's the screens. If you just watch him, just watch his game and see what he does with the ball. He just knows where to be. His passing for his position, especially his size, he just knows where these guys are. Especially watching him and Steph play. It's art. The things that they do together, the pick and rolls, how he feeds, how he can sometimes push the pace, and I get that. I think Clay, of course, is the better player, but Draymond is the definition of a system player. Draymond on any other team is not Draymond,
right?
Besides the Warriors. I think he gives them that little bit of edge, that little bit of spunk to him because, Steph's a smaller guy. He's not really getting in anybody's face, and I'm not going to condone what Draymond does. It's not good. It's not proper. But, that's him. And, on the court, being yourself, being vocal, being loud, getting in people's face, being the bruiser, the aggressor, old 90s basketball
the
stuff.
enforcer. How he can go from kicking people in the nuts and then all of a sudden stop. Which, if you ask me, he did it on purpose.
I think so too. I'm not going to condone that. I wouldn't do that in a pickup game because we're not getting paid.
Yeah.
This guy, if we're getting paid, man, I'll lay the hammer down, whatever I got to do. But
the screens will have a little bit more.
Yeah. How it goes when we play. We'll see the tone, especially when there's a new guy out there. It's all right, but how do you play? I think I play pretty nice because I like all the people we play with.
Like when I brought my cousin?
Yeah. He set a screen, he came over, and he hip checked. And I set a nice friendly screen. I was like, all right, well, next time I got to lower the shoulder, man. I'm not going to lie.
Both of you guys are built like linebackers.
He's they calling him little Mike Tyson out there. But, it's little stuff, But, that's as long as it doesn't get too much football, basketball, it's fun, for the most part. But there's a gauge and a level where it becomes hey, let's tone it down, And that's the reason why we started just hooping. We rent a court by ourselves,
right.
I've played at 24, Lifetime, LA, and it just ends up in violence all the time, arguing 10, 20 minutes for calls, or I did this. We have our arguments in our group too, and if you're subscribed to our channel, you can watch that. I think everybody should watch. I think it's funny.
Oh yeah, we'll plug the link into in here as well.
Yeah, but you'll see we argue here and there, but hey, you get this one, I'll get the next one, or you shoot for, I'll shoot for. We keep it under, I'd say 2-3 minutes a discussion. Our games are anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes a game, going either 12 or 15, and we try to keep it rolling, keep it going. We're paying per minute, per hour that we're there. And we want everybody to just hoop and have fun and get their games in. And I want to be tired when I leave the court. I want to go home, take my shower, eat some food, and get a good night's sleep. So I want to feel like I did it. We all work our jobs, 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, whatever you do. It's just a great way to end off the week and just have fun. Get a good sweat in and just feel like a kid again. That's how I see it. PE days when you can play outside or playing with your friends, it was just fun. That's just the best thing ever. So when you, especially as an adult, when you can feel like a kid again,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Granted, now all the things that we do for fun, you probably have to pay for. You know, your mom, your dad can't pay for it, but you know, it's just enjoyable to get with the guys and just compete,
Yeah.
have fun, talk shit. You know, no problem there. Everybody's just having fun. You know, everybody's
Right.
being respectful. You know, as respectful as you can be in a competitive,
In a competitive setting, yeah.
which is great. We have great games, we have great times. You know, sometimes I get upset more at myself than other people. That's just how I am. You know, I usually try to take it out on other people. Like Draymond, I'll stomp anybody, but you know,
Unless you want to talk about my defense, like
yeah,
whatever.
I'll be changing up, man. I'm like a different person on the court. You know, I love competing. I love basketball, man. I love, like, you watch our defensive assignments. You watch, hey, our spacing's bad here, or we got to crash boards. We're not doing this, or we're taking too many threes. We're not finishing at the rim. We're not, talking up. You're not talking up your teammate, like, hey, trying to congratulate, hey, good shit, good shot, whatever, good defense. Even if a guy scores, but your defense is there, like, hey, man, good D. Just being a good teammate, sometimes is a lot. It does a lot. And I think if you're on Draymond's team, bringing it back to that, you do think he's a good teammite, unless he's punching you in the face.
Yeah, unless you're Jordan Poole.
Yeah. But
Jordan Poole, that.
you want to go with guys. It's like a battlefield. We always use these war analogies in America, I guess, because we're like a big war country. But when you go in a battle, you want to have your guys with you that you trust, and this guy's gonna have my back. If somebody's being a dirty player to me, this guy's gonna show him.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make somebody feel him. So I'd love to have Draymond as a teammate. I wouldn't want to go against him.
I would love to have him like he was like if he was 6'3", he'd be Pat Bev for us. You know? Like
Yeah.
having Pat Beverly, you would hate to go against him,
Exactly.
but you'd love having him on your team. Like
Exactly.
I definitely understand that, but at the same time, Pat Bev left and James Harden stayed. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just I don't know. I feel like that was just one of the. I don't think it might not come back to haunt them unless the Warriors. Unless the Mavericks make the finals and Klay hits the game winner for the game in Game 7. But who actually kind of knows how that's gonna play out. That was just a great signing for the Mavericks, and just. It might be just really, really tough and unfortunate for the Warriors. The Warriors are still playing solid basketball. I believe they're middle of the pack, 5-3, something like that. And they just came off of a big win, like we said earlier. They beat the Celtics, so maybe they're not hurting.
Yeah, early season. We got the standings here. Western Conference: Suns, Thunder, Warriors, Rockets, Mavericks, Nuggets, Kings, Timberwolves, Grizzlies, Lakers, Clippers, Spurs, Trailblazers, Pelicans, and finally the Jazz.
The Jazz they're hurting.
They're trying to tank for Cooper Flag, which I would also do. So I don't blame them. I think they'll probably be close to 500 when it's all said and done. Every West team has the ability to be good. Mm-hmm. If you put the Jazz in the East, they'll probably be a top 4 seed.
Yeah,
So let's go over the East.
Which is what we've been saying for a long time. Ever since LeBron came over here to the West, it completely flipped the dynamics of power. Because 6 years ago we were talking about how strong the East were because they had the Pacers were a top team. The Heat was always a top team. And then when LeBron was on the Cavs, that was the top team. It was their front top 4 or 5 were like the top 4 or 5 of the league almost. And he left. Jimmy Butler went to
the Wolves. Yeah, at that time.
And it was just they just fell off of a cliff. All of the big, like Paul George came from over there, went up and brought over here.
Melo went to OKC as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Just go over the East real quick. We got Cavs, Celtics, Pacers, Nets, Hawks, Knicks, Heat, Bulls, Hornets, Magic, Wizards, Pistons, Raptors, Bucks, and 76ers. The Cavaliers are currently 9-0. Celtics are 7-2, so that's very good for the Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell looks great. Garland looks great. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, great team so far. They got a new coach in. Everything looks pretty good for them. 76ers coming off injury, of course. Bucks got Doc Rivers. I got to say it right now. He's got to go. Doc Rivers is a terrible coach. They also have Darvin Ham on the bench.
Doc Rivers is a legendary coach.
He's terrible.
He's a legendary coach. There's not very many teams. There's not very many coaches that can take like was he took 4 teams to the championship, not to the finals, the championship. He took like 4 teams. He took the Clippers. He took the.
I don't believe the Clippers have ever been in a conference finals.
They played us.
Not in the conference finals.
Yeah,
no, because we've never been in the conference finals. If they beat us in the conference finals, they'd be in the NBA finals. They'd never been in NBA finals with Doc.
You're right. You're right.
That's why I'm saying Doc and Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, those guys are still eating off that one chip.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think his cachet should continue in 2024. Whatever you did for me in 2008, that's great. It's 2024, bro. You know, you got to update our resume. If you had a gap in your resume from 08 to right now, you wouldn't be able to get any jobs. You know, he's getting like participation trophies. He's had great teams. He's coaching Giannis and Damian Lillard. Granted, Dame is in his last couple of years. He doesn't look that great. His defense never been good, and that definitely shows. That team is they're just not skilled right now.
Yeah.
And they're missing Chris Middleton, who's a top 25 player in the East at least.
David Lillard waited way too long to get up out of
the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, he was ducking the grind. He was ducking the allegations. Everybody knows that. It just looks worse on him now, and he's going through some personal things going into last season, divorce and things like that. But that's only going to give you a year of an excuse. So him coming in this year, them being 1-6 and 15th in the East is insane. There's no way with Giannis on your team, who is probably a top 5 player currently, that you should be top 5, top 10.
Not even. I'm not a Giannis guy.
We'll go into that for sure. We got to break that down. Especially we'll talk about this season right now, not just like, oh, who do you think over time, but this season right now. But that'll be a different topic, different day.
Yeah, I got to be
different
careful.
Podcast.
Giannis might beat me in the head with a basketball.
I'm a big fan of Giannis. I know his game isn't complete by any means, but I just know he came from nothing. He used to run to the stadium because he'd send all his money back home to his brother, his family at the time. So I'm a big fan of Giannis.
And now they have 3 in the league.
Yeah, well, his brother is not. His brother used to be in the league. Thanasis used to be on the team. He's no longer on the Bucks. Kostas used to be in the league too. I think they have a younger brother named Alex. I don't think he's eligible right now.
No.
But Kostas used to play, I believe, for the Lakers. But yeah, when you get that level and you're top NBA star, you have your own shoe, your own Nike deal, you can get your brother in the league. There's a lot of brothers in the league, a lot of family members, things like that, which is awesome to see. I bet their parents are very, very proud. I can only imagine. But yeah, we're talking about Eastern Conference here. It's insane to see those bottom 2 teams, you know. But everybody deals with stuff. It's still early. I believe it's the 3rd week.
Astros.
You can. There's less games. Baseball is more games, things like that. But
they had like a 2-month stretch where they were just like
that it catches up to you though in the end. If you're having to climb your way into things, if you're, let's say they do make the playoffs, but in the 6th seed, or let's say 8th seed, so you have to play the 1 seed going in. That's terrible. You're probably going to play Boston or Cleveland. That's just not good. And then you get bounced first, second round. Giannis can't do that again. He's been hurt the last 2 playoffs. They've underachieved, especially with Damian Lillard. Getting rid of Jrue Holiday was a terrible decision in hindsight because he went to Portland, and then Portland shipped him to the Celtics, and then he got a ring, and he was a great player for them. He's a great defensive point guard. Is not selfish, can pass. Really a good fit for any team.
Medalist?
Yeah,
He's a
gold medalist. Yes, as long with Tatum as well. So
That whole Celtics team could probably win a medal. That's actually kind of wild to think about.
maybe not the gold, because I believe like the world has caught up with us with their talent. Definitely not athleticism, but that France team was pretty fucking good.
I think
Serbia was good.
But see, here's the thing though. The Celtics team have been playing together for a while. That USA team was just kind of slapped together.
Yeah.
And it took them a long time to gel, and it was a lot of hero ball. A lot of hero ball that wouldn't happen with the Celtics. So I feel like the USA team probably isn't as good as the Celtics team.
With cohesion, things like that.
With
Yeah,
cohesion.
like it's a team sport. You can have, I guess, the better players on paper, but especially with FIBA rules, it's just a different game. It's a little quicker. They do allow people to play more physical, and some of these NBA guys are a little soft, I'd say.
Yeah.
If you watch our games, we fighting through a lot of stuff.
You can
And
see the individuality though during those Olympics. Though, like Devin Booker had a crazy game. Steph Curry played hero a couple times. LeBron James is just LeBron James at this point, right?
KD, I mean,
KD had a game where he did
there's rules though. There's rules. I believe Devin Booker on his team is like a top 1-2 player. He was the guy for years in Phoenix before he got surrounding team with like
Right.
Chris Paul, years prior, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, things like that. But he just settled into a role with playing with Team USA, and he played his role the right way. And that's why I believe Jason Tatum didn't get as much playing time as some of the Celtics fans would have liked. He just didn't fit a certain role that Coach Steve Kerr was looking for, and he wasn't shooting the 3 ball as well back
Might have
then.
been a little personal.
So
too.
maybe people are saying that Steve Kerr did get booed, I believe, last night at the Celtics game. They were playing in the arena in Boston.
Yeah.
But either way, Jason Tatum's coming out having a great year. He's going to be an all-star, of course. Guys like that, you're not really too concerned about them. He has his own shoe. He signed with Jordan Brand. He's a young guy, and we'll be able to enjoy watching him play basketball for another 10 years easy. So not worried about them at all.
Okay. So let's do your very early finals prediction. Who do you think is going to make the finals in the very first pilot episode of the podcast?
Early prediction for sure. I'm just gonna go Boston. I just think they're gonna run away with it. I just think they have the proven team. I think if they end up playing the Cavaliers at some point, it'll be a 6 or 7 game series. But I think them being there before is just going to put them over the edge. So I'm going to go with the Celtics coming out the East. For the West, I'm going to go OKC this year. I think with Hardenstein and Caruso, those new signings, I think they can get it together and beat somebody like Dallas. I don't believe Denver's going to get there. I don't think they're a threat. I don't think the Lakers are going to be there. The Suns are playing good this year, but they're 1 or 2 injuries away from slipping, and that will happen. Yeah, that will happen with older players. I don't think their team is as deep as OKC. I think OKC has one of the deepest teams in the association right now. So Dallas does scare me for them. I'm not an OKC fan by any means, but I believe Dallas, if Luka's healthy, if Kyrie's healthy, if Clay's healthy, is a tough out for sure. 6 or 7 game series. Every Western Conference playoff matchup will be tough. I don't think we're gonna get many sweeps, even a gentleman's sweep this year. Just playing that extra game does put wear and tear on the body, and it does add up toward the end of the season. Every game you play after the 82 definitely puts that extra strain on your body, and adds up as you're playing deeper into the year and deeper into the season. So that's my finals prediction, early finals prediction. Celtics coming out of the East and OKC coming out of the West.
Okay. And out of those two, who you got winning?
I'm going to say Celtics just because they're older. They've been there before, like I said. It will be nice, to get a new champion. But I won't be I'll be entertained either way. So
Okay. All right. My finals prediction I do believe the Celtics are gonna go again. It's just really hard to bet against them right now with how they've been playing, how they finished last year. It's just really hard to go against them in the East. But my West prediction, I'm gonna say Dallas. I think Dallas is gonna be able to go back. Pending health. If they stay healthy, if they are able to manage Kyrie and Clay, and they're firing on all cylinders come playoff time, and we get playoff Clay, we get big Kyrie, we get Uncle Drew, and we get Luka, which is kind of the same as James Harden, but that's another debate. You get those three, I think they're gonna push Celtics to 7 games and come out on top. I think they'll come out on top. The matchup that they had last year was severely one-sided. In my opinion, mostly due to coaching, because they were forcing Hardaway. They were forcing Hardaway, and he was just broke. He just didn't have it. Instead of working with what they had, like Isaiah, Likely was hooping. PJ Washington was hooping. Derrick Jones was hooping. Out of all people, he should continue to ride those guys. Instead, he had them kicking it to Hardaway, who I think in one game he was like 1 of 7 from 3. Like, why do you even have him shooting 7 threes?
He's a 3-point shooter though.
Yeah.
Shooters shoot.
Shooters, I understand shooters shoot, but you got to be like, hey, because those games were close until they weren't. It's just part coaching and part personnel. I do think that they'll get that correct. They have that championship blood in them now. I mean, the Celtics do as well, but they're a little bit more seasoned, in my opinion, with Kyrie actually winning, Clay actually winning multiple bowls or multiple rings, and I think that they'll probably be able to put it all together. It'll be, like you said, it'll be a hell of a match, but I do think that Dallas has the team this year to pull it out.
Solid. We'll see how it goes. Just enjoy the NBA season right now. It's first week of November, so we got a lot of basketball left. A lot of things could happen, especially trade deadline, things like that. Just enjoying the season so far, and just wishing everybody a healthy season.
Right. I guess the final points would be the coming up with the trade deadline. Do you think that there's going to be any big moves this year?
Right now, it's hard to say, except for those guys that were in trade rumors last year, like Levine. He might be like the biggest name that I've heard recently. People get disgruntled, so we'll see that for sure. But as of now, it's pretty quiet. I think people are just trying to play it by ear, and nobody's really upset with their team dynamic yet. But with these guys and the way they've been acting in the past, I'm sure that will start back up again soon. So, but it's always fun, interesting to hear the trade rumors, things like that. Now Woj is retired. We got to wait for Shams to say something. But yeah, I always am a fan of the trade deadline, trade scenarios, things like that. Later on in the podcast, in future episodes, we'll probably jump into the trade machine and try to make some trades. Just do like some hypotheticals and things that we could do to help teams with things that they're missing. Maybe it's size, maybe it's depth, maybe it's 3-point shooting. Just off the top, I know Lakers probably could use some 3-point shooting, but I'm always trying to help LeBron out. So, but those are things we could probably get into later on, and just have fun with that.
Yeah, I agree. I saw a trade rumor, way too early trade rumor, by the way, pop up on my timeline about 3 days ago, where the Rockets were talking about getting Giannis, and the potential trade involved giving up a lot of our young guys, a lot of the people that
if this is true, the Bucks would take it no hesitation sending Giannis over here. As great of a player Giannis is, the guys are old. That team is old, and their second best player. When I mean, would Chris Middleton be considered second best player with how
No.
Damian Lillard has been playing?
I think Chris Middleton at his best is still not better than Dame. Granted, he does give you a defense, but his offense just isn't there as much. I don't think he's much of a threat to anyone else other than Dame.
Well, with their third best player being injured for what could be a while, they might get in the hole that they have to trade their way out of. So
I think they fire the coach before that happens.
yeah,
It's very tough to get rid of a generational talent like Giannis. He would have to definitely demand that for sure. Like that's something that he would have to be outspoken about. And I just don't think the European guys aren't as demanding as the American-born players as you've seen in the past. Like Kevin Durant, very vocal. James Harden, very vocal. Kyrie Irving, very vocal about wanting to leave and forcing their way out of situations.
Mm-hmm.
Even Ben Simmons, I guess he's Australian. I mean, he doesn't count for us, but and that was a different situation. But the American-born players are very vocal about not being happy and not wanting to stick it out. I think the foreign-born players are more willing to go through the grind. Giannis was not on great Bucks teams growing up. Granted, he wasn't the player that he is now, but their staff, they developed him. He developed himself. He got in the weight room. He's done the work to become the player that he is. And if he were to ask for a trade, I believe he'd be within his right. He did win a ring to Milwaukee, which is a small market team in the East. He's done his job. When they drafted him in later mid first round, I think he's exceeded expectations for sure. So, maybe he would get mad. Maybe they'll burn jerseys. Who knows? But I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they would even send him over here. Personally, we have picks. We do have young guys, but I don't think that happens this year. Maybe if they have a down year again next year, the trade talks will ramp up. But I don't think he would be sent to the Rockets. I just highly doubt it. And I also saw Jimmy Butler trades because the Heat aren't doing as well either. I personally will say it right now. I don't want Jimmy Butler. I don't think he's going to take us to the next level.
For some reason, Jimmy Butler is always linked to us. Like they were talking about that.
I don't understand
a
it.
while ago.
I don't understand it. His game, it doesn't. Is something that I don't necessarily like just because he's really not a 3-point shooter like that. I think his best days are behind him, so I wouldn't want to get rid of anything for him personally. Unless we got rid of bench guys that we don't use and maybe like a second round pick, sure. But I believe Miami wouldn't do that for us. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what all we can be talked about in the pilot. This is like I said, very very early in the season. There's a lot of things that are still happening. There's a lot of teams that are finding their footing. There's a lot of teams that are benefiting from having the same teams last year, and so all of the stuff that we talked about today is just this is all really early. We just kind of have to see how this goes, and we'll be here to keep you updated every week on what's going to happen, what to expect, and we'll be here for it.
Yeah, I want to say if you did make it this far into the podcast, our pilot episode, just thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention for this episode. I want to shout out everybody in the Unclutch Discord. Thank you guys for just pulling up, being active members, just being who you guys are. Thank you so much. Any issues that we have with this podcast, audio, video, like I said, and Chris said, this is our pilot episode, so we're making improvements every single week. Just trying to do something fun and have some memories when we get older. So again, thank you for listening, and we hope you tune in again and subscribe, please. Thank you.
Yep, like Isaiah said, this pilot episode will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel. I'm also going to post a link onto the Discord. We are in the progress of combining everything. Like we have a Instagram clips as well. And so right now, it's like I said, this is the pilot. We're gonna try to centralize and make everything very, very easy for you guys to follow us and just watch the growth, watch the development, and be a part of it as well. Where we pay attention, and of course we look at every comment. We'll do our best to talk. As we grow, while we're early, of course we can get to every comment, and we can engage with you more. But as our promise to you, we'll attempt to keep that going for as long as we run this podcast, as long as Unclutch is a thing. Because this not only is for us, as a thing that we like to do as friends, as longtime friends. It's also a way that we can engage with you guys, and we do appreciate you listening if you got this far, and stay tuned for more episodes.